What does a standard cadence even look like? You've probably heard a variety of statistics on what it takes to convert a prospect. Let's say one claims that it takes a cold prospect 20 or more touches before they buy. Oof. Now, that doesn't mean you should send 20 emails. It doesn't mean you should make 20 cold calls. And it definitely does not mean you should like 20 of their LinkedIn posts back to back. Can you imagine being on the receiving end of that? What it does mean is that buyers reply to different mediums, different moments, different channels. And yes, part of that touch count is marketing. Ads, retargeting, content, all the things your brand is doing already that still influence the buyer, even if they never replied to an email. Now, for what we can control on the sales side, and specifically with emails, we like to start with 10 unique email touches. 10 is a strong baseline. You might go longer later, you might go shorter later, but if you are building out your first real cadence, 10 touches gives you enough runway to learn what's working without turning that seller into someone who never stops emailing. Then we layer in other touches, commonly cold calls or social. The right number to start with depends on your team's historical data and the persona you're targeting. If cold calling traditionally works well for your personas, then you'll want to work it into your cadence. If social touches have been where you've seen success, then you want to add those in as well. And if you have no historical data, or if this is a new persona or vertical you're targeting, or even a new product you're launching, here's where you can start. For the highest level, most desirable personas, try 2 or 3 extra touches across the full cold cadence. For mid-level prospects, 1 or 2 touches is usually plenty. And for your lowest level prospects, the ones who might influence the buyer but are not the buyer, keep it on the 10 emails only. We'll go into more detail later in the series on what those touches should actually look like and when they should come. Now, one key data point to examine before we move on, and that's about my previous note around cold calling traditionally working for your personas. The market and how we sell to our buyers has changed significantly, even in the last few years. And technology makes it even harder to see conversions from cold calls. If this is something you believe works for your organization, take a moment to examine 4 data points to verify and confirm if this should still be part of your cadence. Number 1, the number of call touches it takes to get a pickup. Number 2, the conversion of those pickups to meetings. Number 3, how frequently those calls happen versus get rescheduled. And 4th, the volume and trajectory of pipeline built from those cold calls. On the surface, it may appear that cold calls are still advantageous, but sometimes clients investigate the above and realize it took 19 calls to get a pickup, or that only 30% of those meetings showed, and then the pipeline driven from those stagnated in the middle stages. This is a great bonus tip to make sure that the pieces of what you're building in your cadence will still serve you today. Once you have your cadence in place, let the data tell you what to do next. If you have 3 calls baked into your cadence, for example, but your connection rate is basically 0, and your open rates after those calls are not improving, then those calls are not helping. They are just taking time. Reduce them. The same goes for your LinkedIn. If your prospects are not active on the platform, if they're not posting, engaging, or even accepting connection requests, you may not need to force the social touches just because someone told you you should. There's actually a lot of nuances on how you can be successful on LinkedIn, and I can tell you from experience, liking a post, again, is not one of them. Everything you do there should be done with intention and consideration and not just a checkbox for that cadence. But if you do have a strong call connection rate, or your thoughtful social touches are actually converting, then yes, you can consider increasing those touch points or even repositioning them earlier in your cadence. Be mindful too at what content is converting. If you have an email as a 7th touch and it appears there's a spike in meeting conversions or click-through rates, consider moving that content to the 1st or 3rd email to shorten the time frame to meeting conversions. Basically, the cadence should follow what is working, not what sounds good in theory. Let's go back to emails, because the emails are the spine of the cadence, and most of your other touches work better when the emails are strong. So here's how we think about those 10 emails. Phase 1 is active selling, which is emails 1 through 4. This is where you earn attention, where you make the problem feel real, you show your unique point of view, and you ask for interest in a way that's respectful. Phase 2 is nurture, and those are emails 5 through 9. This is where most sellers go wrong. Your prospect silence is usually timing that hostility. If you keep pushing with calls to action, you increase your odds of getting trashed, blocked, or marked as spam. So nurture is value only. Something you found, why it matters to them, the link, and no ask. I'll say it again, 0 call to action. Buyers already know what you want after these first few emails, so there's no need to keep asking for it. And then there's phase 3, which is the breakup email. Now, this is email 10, and breakup emails tend to get a bit of a bad rap because most of them are either cheesy, rude, or as you declare that this is the last time you're reaching out, they elicit this response from your buyer. Woohoo! A great breakup email is helpful, respectful, and honest. It assumes the timing isn't right. It gives them a couple of resources and leaves the door open so you're considered as the person who adds value, even on the way out. Now, let's talk timing. Timing will vary by persona, by channel, and by your data. But as a general guide, you do not want to hit the same channel more than once every couple of days. You can combine channels, like a call or an email on the same day, but you want to avoid becoming the person who shows up every morning like a push notification nobody asked for. Be mindful, too, of the buyer's experience if you oversaturate them with touches. For example, there's a popular perspective that says to email, call, and connect with your buyer on LinkedIn all on day 1. And we don't subscribe to that. Yes, it may work sometimes, but at what cost to your brand to every buyer it doesn't work with? And put yourself in that buyer's shoes. How would you feel about that rep and that organization? In this series, you'll see that email 2 comes quite quickly. In fact, we advise it to go out within 48 hours of the first one being sent. After that, the gaps can widen as the cadence goes on. Personally, I often run about 4 to 5 days between touches in the active selling phase. Then 7 to 8 days between emails in the nurture phase and the breakup email. But again, your ICP and your territory matter. For example, if you're trying to break into a small number of large accounts and you only have a handful of truly high-value prospects you're placing in your cadences, you may want your cadence to run longer with bigger timing gaps. Conversely, if you're making an effort with an impossible-to-book Chief Information Services Officer, you may want to vary your timing to include weekends when they're less distracted with other work. And lastly, if you have a million personas to chase and you're refreshing your pipeline constantly, you might run it faster. The point is not to copy someone else's cadence. The point is to start with a strong baseline, run it consistently, and let the data tell you what to adjust.